Good morning. Happy third day of class. It's Wednesday. Um, things are going quickly because, well, they have to because it's a 5-week class. So basically, we're already in what do we want to say? Almost like end of week two, if we were in a regular semester. So hang in there and hang on because things are going to go quickly. As a rule, you can probably expect that we'll be writing a paper a week or the equivalent of a paper a week, which would be the same as if during the regular semester, one a month. All right. But of course, we're going to be going through this drafting process and research and writing and rewriting very quickly in the summer uh, course, obviously. Okay, having said that, I'm going to talk about a few things this morning that are coming up for this first week. One of those is the blog. You guys, most of you have posted your blog site on Medium for me. I have created a Wix site that links to everyone's blog. You can access that in the content page. I'm trying to get it added to the nav bar, but it's given me some grief. So we can link to it there. I'll also put a link if you'd like in the announcements so that you can go check it out. If you haven't done that yet, please submit it by tonight. Um, the blogs will be a running weekly project for you, okay? They don't take very long. It's a nice way to exercise your voice in a different way. Okay, so in formal academic papers, of course, you're providing evidence and support in ways that are more rhetorically sound. Not to suggest that your blogs aren't sound, because they are, but they're more driven by emotion or by your personal response, whereas your capstone argument, for example, will be housed in research and other rhetorical appeals. So the blogs we find are a nice place to develop your own persona, to establish your voice, the strength of the voice that hopefully you developed in Comp 1, where you really exercise some strategies for identifying your own strengths as writers. So this should give you a nice outlet for that. The first blog entry is due this weekend, and it is an open letter. I posted a link on inside the blog module that takes you to McSweeney's, and that should provide you with a bunch of examples of open letters. But let me just talk for a second about what an open letter is. Okay, it's not to a specific person, so you're not going to write an open letter to a particular individual necessarily. Instead, you're writing an open letter to the person who's driving 25 in a 55. Okay, you're on your way to work, dear person who finds it necessary to sightsee on the way to work. All right, so you're sort of venting your frustration, maybe. They're often comical. Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're satirical. You can identify the tone that you want to take based on the topic, the subject matter. Maybe you want to write an open letter to an inanimate object. Maybe you're writing to the corner of your bed that you stub your toe on every single morning. Or maybe you want to write an open letter to your emotions. Maybe you want to write an open letter. I think one of the samples that, I don't know if I posted it or if it's just something that you'll find on McSweeney's, to pumpkin spice latte, to your coffee, to your morning commute, to anything that you want. Sometimes people will post to, like, maybe you want to write an open letter to LeBron, begging him to stay. He's going to stay, by the way. Maybe you want to write an open letter to Steph Curry or to Steph Curry's binky mouthpiece, whatever. Okay, you can write to anything, but it gives you a chance to exercise something that's on your mind in a more informal voice, because that's what a blog does. My strong suggestion is that you read a bunch of entries, okay, page through Medium, see what a blog looks like. Look at the conventions of blog entries. All right, these are personal blogs, so it's not a professional blog. So the tone is very different and it's very personalized. That's what you're kind of establishing here, is a place for your voice that's different than that which will appear in a formal paper. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, the other thing that you need to do, and that we need to do, is to start really thinking about what makes an argument an argument, okay, a more formal argument. And we could spend a lot of time talking as we would in a logic class about syllogisms and premises and conclusions, but we're looking at more practical argument, all right? That's not to suggest that we don't need evidence, okay, that we don't need to think about, or that, that we don't need to think about different appeals, because that's exactly what we're looking at. So your first exercise is to complete a rhetorical analysis. And that sounds like a lot of words, but essentially what you're doing is reading. I posted 4 articles for you to read, okay, and they're all from contemporary sources. So they're not academic articles, which are much more challenging to negotiate, okay, because of the language and the length. These are very reader-friendly articles. What you're hearing in each of those articles is the writer's voice, the writer's opinion, the writer's position. And now what your job is to go through, first read and annotate. Okay, so take notes. If you print it, write all over it. If you're reading it on the screen, take notes elsewhere, okay? But take special note, not just of what the writer is saying, but how he or she is saying it, okay? So if the writer begins with an anecdote, personal story, what's the effect of that on the reader? Why does he do that? Why does he want to tell us his personal story? Does that build his credibility, his ethos? Does it bolster his support for his argument? Is it effective? Is it ineffective? Not do you agree or disagree with what he's saying, but why does he say what he says in an effort to present his position or his point? You are like the reviewer of the argument and the article, not of the issue. I don't care if you disagree. I'm not being mean, but I don't care right now. Your job now is to say, wow, this guy did a fantastic job. Look what he included. Okay, look at the evidence he provides. He provides this evidence in an effort to appeal to our emotions, to appeal to our logic. How is it constructed? Is it well organized? Is it confusing? Okay, those are the kinds of things that you're looking at. By beginning in this way, by analyzing someone else's argument, the goal is to help you develop a stronger sense of what makes a good argument when you develop your own position papers. For example, of course, building to the capstone, where you will get to take a position on an issue and provide ample support. First step, go to the PAPEL, P-A-P-E-L model. You're going to evaluate the purpose. Okay, so what? Why is the writer creating this article? The audience. For whom is he writing it? And that doesn't mean who it's about. It means where was it published? Who's reading this? Who's he trying to persuade? The presentation. Okay, is it an op-ed? I think all of these are op-eds, which means opinion editorials. Is it organized in a list? Are there subcategories? Is it written in first person? Take a look at how it's presented to you. Evidence, that's the key one, right? So we look at this and we say, where do you see him making appeals to ethos, pathos, and logos? You should have watched that video, okay, so that you understand what those different rhetorical appeals are. And then talk a little bit about it. Not just what's there, but why is it there? What do you think his purpose is? So it's you picking apart the motivation behind the writer. And then the last, the L, language, okay? What is it that is effective? Is it sarcastic? Is it well phrased? Is it not so well phrased? Is it confusing? Are the transitions difficult? How's the style? You are evaluating the quality of this particular article. I don't care which one you choose. I would like for you to read them all, because I think they're all very interesting articles about some contemporary issues we're dealing with today. But I want you to choose the one that you think you can do the best analysis of. And this needs to be a full-bodied analysis, all right? When you begin your rhetorical analysis, follow some of the guidelines I've given you, and I've given you a bunch of tip sheets and things like that. But you want to start maybe with a real introduction that says something like, addresses the issue at large. So if you're going to look at the one on opioids, all right, maybe you talk a little bit about the drug problem that we're facing, especially in northeastern Ohio right now, or wherever you want to talk about, or whatever you want to talk about, but relative to the general subject matter. Then you move into, well, Joe Schmo addresses this in his recent article in the New York Times, and then you give the title of the article. Titles of articles go in quotation marks. Okay, so you have to make natural transitions into this, and you have to fully develop what you're talking about. Follow some of the examples I've posted, former student papers, to give you a sense, and they're very different. Okay, so there's some different ways of approaching things, but you have to follow the guidelines I've given you. Make sure that you have an introduction. Make sure that you move then into another paragraph that brings the title of the article and the author and the resource, okay, so the publication, where it appeared, and that you take all of those factors into consideration as you write it. Here's the plan. I'd like a rough draft of the rhetorical analysis by Friday night at midnight. I'm going to pop some feedback. I'm going to read through them just to make sure you're on the right track. And then I'll do some general feedback to everyone. Some of you might see some specifics on your drafts, but we'll work in that direction. And then originally I was going to have the final draft due on Sunday, but since you have a blog entry due on Sunday, I'm going to have the final draft due on Monday night. Having said that, know that we're also going to start working on your capstone essay. Let me mention briefly here. Capstone is going to be about any issue that you care about, something that you genuinely have an interest in, an issue that you think is worth discussing. Don't just go to gun control or abortion. I don't even want to read those, okay? Make it something that you legitimately care about and not just something that you can Google and find a lot of research on. I'll talk a lot more about that probably tomorrow as we plan for that next essay, but you're going to be writing a very long paper on that. Like, okay, not very long. 7 or 8 pages though, okay? And you have to do an annotated bibliography, you have to do some research. That'll be next week's project, all right? So it'll push us into the annotated bibliography and then into the capstone. So it's the big topic. So start thinking about something that you're very interested in. Maybe it's local, maybe something in your community. Maybe it's something more global, but you want to keep it sort of manageable. I don't think you're going to like solve the world's problems or anything like that with it, but think a little bit about what you might like to spend some time talking about. Okay, guys, I know I was talking for a long time. I'm sorry. Just be thankful that we're not sitting for 2.5 hours listening to this. So it could be a lot worse. All right, have a great day. If you have any questions, as always, I stay pretty close to my email, my phone. I try to get back to you very, very quickly. I know the time frame is small here, so please keep working. Have a great day.